Welcome in. I have plant expert PC Brown of PC's Nursery here in Dothan, coming off an historic freeze a couple weeks ago. You're about a couple miles from the airport. It was 9 degrees at the airport that Wednesday morning. You've lived here your whole life, right?
Yes.
So let's go, first of all, back to 2 weeks ago, that Tuesday when it snowed so much. Personally, what were you thinking that day?
Well, it's fun. You're getting the anticipation of getting some snow. I remember, some snow we had back in the early 70s. I was a little boy.
1973.
Yep, I think you were right.
Yep.
And I think a couple of inches or so. But, they forecast more, but you never.
Right.
Yeah, you just never think you're going to get 6 inches of snow.
Right.
So it was certainly a record. But, it was great. It was beautiful. It, down here in the South, that poses a lot of problems.
Yes.
Not just the road closures and business closings. We have a lot of, get plant damage.
Yep.
And our grasses here are warm season grasses.
Yep.
Up north, they don't grow centipede in Bermuda and St. Augustine and Zoysia, whatever.
Right.
So down here, it's just a little cool. So, it's a possibility we could have some damage on lawns. And I'm positive we will. Because 2 years ago, we had a lot of people with bad spots. And you can't see that until it warms up and the grass starts to green.
Hopefully that snow acted as an insulator and protected some of the grasses, but it got cold even as that snow started to melt. We had some cold nights.
It did.
Yeah.
So the just like you said, the snowpack, that 6 inches, it does kind of provide a little warm blanket. But we got some burn out here at the nursery. We had some stuff that we were really worried about. We moved it into our cold frame, and we've been through this enough. We know what needs to go in, and what can take the cold. But we've even had some burn on some material out here that we didn't move in that I thought we would be okay on. It's not dead.
Yep.
We're working on it right now, shearing it back.
Third coldest temperature since 1965. Tied for the third coldest.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
That's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm glad I don't live any further north than where I live.
Right. That was cold enough.
It was. I don't know if I could stand that day in day out. But
were you worried coming into it, knowing it would be snowy and cold? What goes through your mind with all this plant material everywhere?
Well, how much material we're going to lose. Yeah. We've got a shade cloth back here that was 60 by 160. I don't know if you can see it behind us. It totally collapsed.
Oh wow!
I feel good. I've known some other nursery growers that have hundreds of thousands of dollars with just shade cloth that collapsed. Wow. So we've got some damage back here. We've got it cleaned up, but now we're just looking to, and what people need to do in their yards is go out and kind of assess. You can kind of tell. Where you might have some burn.
Yep.
I would probably lightly trim that burn off now. That's what we're doing. We're doing some cleanup. A lot of times you don't see it till it warms up, and we're starting to see some of it now. So you can do some light pruning, nothing heavy.
Sago palms, for example, they're burned everywhere.
You can go ahead and clean those up down to the stump.
Yep.
That'll all come back out new. Your sago palms will be fine.
Yep.
You'll get everything new back out of the.
I like to grow palms and tropicals, and I've got queen palms, which I know are like 22 and below, forget about it, but I wrap them, and 2 years ago with that freeze at Christmas time, they came back. But of course the fronds are dead. So palms like that, if you protected them, there's hope that it starts growing once we warm up.
Well, I know you might have some queen palms. We don't.
You don't know. No.
We don't
plant them. I don't recommend.
Don't plant queen palms here.
Don't do it.
But we have some palms here that are hardy.
Yeah.
We've got some mule palm.
Those mule palms are awesome. By the way.
I know, and they're kind of a first cousin to a cocos or pindo palm.
Yep.
And I noticed on our yard, our mules got burned.
They did. Okay.
The crowns are good; they should come back.
Yeah.
But the cocos and pindo palms they weren't even touched.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So we want to make sure that we sell somebody something that's that can be easily planted in our area if we have those cold temperatures.
And that's the key. But again, I've got 3 queen palms in the ground. So when it comes wintertime and it's cold, it's a hassle to wrap them in lights. I do bubble wrap, and then I do a blanket to trap that heat inside. I think the key, and I love growing tropicals, but the key is really to find plants that can survive our climate, isn't it?
Because we're on that gray line.
Yeah, right.
When it comes to tropicals.
Yeah.
And so we sell a lot of tropicals here. But there are some that we don't sell, and there are some that we do sell, but we make sure we let our customer know those are not cold hard. But palms in general, they're you're going to have some damage on them. Just go ahead and clean that up. Cut that. It looks bad. So go ahead and get rid of that. Trim that back to the trunk. Don't think it's dead. Just probably really won't know till mid-spring. So we get into April, into some really warm days where we're really starting to get flush on plant material. You won't see it early March, but you'll start seeing flush the end of March, early April, mid-April. And so that's going to let you know where, if it's survived, or if you need to trim it back more, especially with perennials. A lot of times our perennials don't always die here.
Yeah.
We sometimes don't have enough cold, and you can kill a perennial back completely. So this year they're going to be completely dead.
Yeah.
But the cold for perennials hasn't hurt perennials. So don't think your perennials are damaged. They're going to be fine.
And that snow probably helped protect the ground and the roots,
And the
for
roots.
some of those, right?
It does. Plant material out here on the nursery is sitting above ground in these containers.
Right.
So the root itself is exposed more to the cold.
Sure.
So whereas plant material that's at your house, it's in the ground, and that root is warmer, in the ground than it is above ground. So we probably would lose more plant material out here, percentage-wise, as a general rule, or nurseries would, versus
That makes
people
sense.
at their house.
Yeah.
In your yards.
What about citrus?
Citrus is another animal in itself.
Yeah.
We're kind of on the borderline, also a little gray area for
Right.
citrus. We, of course, ran ours in the greenhouse. Now we don't heat our greenhouse; it's just a cold frame.
Okay.
But I've got some young plants that I had replaced from 2 years ago that we really wiped those out. So I think people are going to have some pretty serious citrus issues. Loss. I've got some at the house, and they're burned back pretty good.
Are they?
Yeah, I know the foliage. There's hardly any foliage left on them.
Wow.
So it's just going to depend on how deep that got into the bark, into the trunk.
I say that, you say that 2 years ago, I had 2 satsumas with that freeze that were completely defoliated. There were 5 leaves left on 2 big trees. They both came back. So I guess they're sometimes hardier, at least satsumas, than we think.
Well, I had some young ones, but I also had a more mature satsuma that probably had a 5 to 6 inch trunk, and it killed it.
It did kill it.
It killed it dead.
Microclimate, maybe.
I don't know. It just killed it.
Wow.
So I've seen some around town that lived through that.
Yeah.
And you got one, you're lucky.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have some damage on citrus because we are in that gray zone climate wise for that cold temperature. And we are not used to anything, very rarely in the lower teens, much less in the single digits.
That was the coldest since 1989 in Dothan. Do you remember that winter?
I don't.
No, okay.
But,
Yeah, that 89 and 96 were really cold winters.
Seems like we get it every 8 to 10 years,
Yeah.
but we've had 2 years here. I mean, with
Two out of three.
two hits within a 2-year span.
Right.
So I don't know. Overall, people think bugs. Well, it's going to kill all the bugs. No, it's not going to kill all the bugs. All the bugs are there. They're just in hibernation. They're going to be back.
Right.
You're going to get burned on plant material. Some things are just going to smooth sailing through this cold. Fruit trees, for example, peach, pear, plum, apple, and all of that.
Good, right?
Man, that's great.
Yeah.
That cold temperature, especially with those long hours. Here we're talking about chill hours, and that doesn't necessarily mean 32 degrees. That just means around 40, give or take, to where we can get so many hours. But we got a whole week there.
We got a bunch.
So I think it's going to be great for our fruit production.
Yeah.
I think everything had, definitely got the amount of chill hours it needed on that type of fruit. So that's a plus.
We're warming up in a big way this week. The plants are probably thinking, hey, I went through winter, now it's springtime. If we start seeing some growth, are you concerned about a late season freeze?
No doubt.
Yeah.
And this is at least a week or better that we've already been up this warm.
Yeah.
So it'll start. Plants will start. I think they want to flush.
Yeah.
And you will get some flush.
Yeah.
I looked into the forecast, and I know I watch
warm.
you, but it's going to be warm for the next week or so.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to have some stuff to flush, and it's not good because we are going to have some more 32-degree nights.
Yep.
And so what that's going to do is just burn back that new flush. It won't hurt anything, but that's why you really don't want to fertilize. because we're going to get that flush, and if we've got fertilizer in the ground, that's even going to push it
Double
quicker.
whammy.
Right.
Right.
So do not fertilize. Don't think about it till we get into early to mid-March.
Good advice.
But yeah, we're going to get some flush, and we're going to get some burn back from that. That's nothing compared to what we just went through.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about replanting? We're early February now. You maybe you lost some plants at home. When should you put replacements in the ground? Would you wait until March or do it now?
Listen, it's most people, kind of think of spring as being our best prime time to plant, and it is a great time.
Yep.
But in our minds, we think spring planting.
Yep.
but in our area, in our climate, the cold, other than last week, normally doesn't hurt our plant material. We don't normally get cold enough here. What stresses our plant material is the heat.
Okay.
So, if you can get your plant material in through the cooler months, you are steps ahead of people that are planting in May or April or May or even March. Now there's a lot of plant material that's spring that won't be available until then, but perennials are really good to install right now. Any shrubbery, trees, ornamental grasses, anything like that you want to install now, you're just really, really ahead of the game getting that stuff in. Those roots are kind of spread out. By the time we get into our really hot weather, those plants have already kind of started rooting out in the ground, and they're not stressed as bad as if you're just putting them in June 1st.
Yeah.
Or even in April or May.
Makes sense.
Get them in the ground early. We really promote planting. We start really pushing hard planting in October, November as we get into the fall. We've got 4 or 5 months that are really great to plant, and you can just beat that heat.
Your inventory is going to increase big time as we go through spring. Do you see a big increase in February, or you kind of get more material in March? And then the second part of that is, have your suppliers had issues with the cold and the snow this winter?
Our suppliers, I'm positive they had some damage. There's a ton of wholesale growers around the Florida Panhandle and over into Georgia, southern Georgia. So without a doubt, they had some damage, plant-wise, and some shade, housing material damage. Snow's heavy on greenhouses, but we start kind of looking at we're ordering now. We missed our trade show a week ago. It was during the storm, during the snowstorm, so we missed it.
What are the odds, right?
It's usually, it has been crazy things, but anyway, so we start really looking to bring in plant material, depending on what it is, the latter part of February.
Okay.
I'd say third week in February, and then all the way through spring as we're going. So once we start bringing in material, it doesn't stop till we get trucks that roll in here twice a week, 3 times a week. So we're constantly moving product. And so trucks will start rolling. Usually, third week or so in February. And color, annuals and perennials and that kind of thing really won't start rolling in here until about early to mid-March.
I have a feeling you're going to be busy this spring.
I think we're going to be busy a lot. A lot of times we have winters here where our annuals don't even die. Like begonias. People say, yeah. So they're gone.
They're gone, yeah.
Yeah, so I think hopefully we'll, I hate that, but hopefully we'll have a good plant season. And as far as I know, I've talked to our growers, we should not have an issue that I've heard so far with any plant shortages.
That's good.
I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah.
I have heard some got a little damage.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's going to be any plant shortage. We're going to be fine.
Coming off that snow and cold, that's some good news. PC, thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.